All right. Welcome everybody to a essentially remote meeting of the EDIC board on Tuesday, March 11th, with Taylor and Lee being actually physically at the Harbor Masters conference room. So per the hybrid meeting rules, the public is welcome to attend the meeting in person. The Zoom link is available on the City of Gloucester website, and folks can participate that way. Please note that the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if there's technological problems that interrupt the remote connection. Although that might be moot given that 5/7 of the board is calling in remotely, so we would no longer have a quorum. So anyways, with that, I call to order the EDIC board meeting for March, and attendance to be taken. Tom Belf is here. Gretel Seeley?
Here.
Taylor Hedges?
Here.
Rob Gordon?
Here.
Patty Nags?
Here.
Okay, and I noticed that Adria is here. Great to have you participate as well.
Tom, I'm here. Mike Delasio.
Oh, Mike, sorry, you weren't like right there. Now you are, but Mike Delasio as well. January meeting minutes, we didn't have a quorum last month, so we did not officially approve the January meeting minutes. Hope folks had a chance to review that. Any comments, edits, suggestions?
They look good.
Okay. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Can we have an aye vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Gretel? Okay, great. So on with the meeting. Organizational issues, there are none at the moment. So we'll get right to the status report of current initiatives. So the debrief from the February 6th Blackburn Park meeting, since we didn't really have a meeting last month, this is included again on the agenda. And you see the follow-up sort of action steps, but I don't know whether anybody wants to, before we just sort of check in on what we were or somebody was supposed to do, any other comments about, I mean, I think generally it seemed like it was felt to be a good, positive meeting. I think that Applied Materials was certainly happy to host, and National Grid was, I think, happy to have the opportunity to have a pretty full and informed conversation about energy issues. But it certainly validates the value, I think, of just getting together once a year and talking about sort of key issue or issues and just simply connecting. But any other thoughts or comments about the meeting and what you'd like to see happen that didn't happen, or other thoughts?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I guess just to repeat comments from last board meeting, I felt like I think a lot of light was shed on the constraints that National Grid is operating under with regards to the state and just the regulatory, the regimen, shall we say, right? It just seems to me like they're in a real non-agile type of a mode. And I think a lot of that seems like it's actually forced upon them. That's a fundamental weakness, I think, in terms of how the state's operating, but because it does seem as if they're open to change, but they're kind of operating inside of a set of rules that they don't seem like they have a lot of effort or don't have a lot of leverage to change, right? So question as it relates to you know, our predicament or our challenge around energy here, you know, how do we create more of a momentum that they can actually get behind as well, right? So, you know, perhaps there's a way to bring them into, you know, they're allies. How do we make them allies and not adversaries in a sense, right? You know, not in a personal way, of course, but just in terms of just organizationally.
No, it's a good point. I mean, in this last week or two in the state of Massachusetts and the steps that the Governor Healy is taking to address the um, high costs of electricity and gas, right? It's hard to imagine how we're going to triple the size of the electric distribution system and transmission system without going from some of the highest electricity and energy rates in the country to a situation of unaffordability. You know, there's going to have to be compromise on either our ambition and goals, or, you know, what the state's role is going to be in addressing the cost issue, right? Because we're already panicking, and we haven't really even embarked on this huge energy transition yet. So
Right.
I think it's interesting. So just to follow up then on the action steps. So I connected everybody, gave Joe Morocco and Elena Alaferis from National Grid their contact information to everybody at the meeting regarding a proposal for sort of shared costs to maintain the entrance to the park, right? The sort of almost, I don't know whether it's Dory Road, but if you come off the Rotary, that whole area that's nobody's particular property, that tends to get overgrown and needs either weed whacking and occasional brush clearing. Taylor, I don't know if you've had a chance to, or you've heard back from anybody in terms of a proposal or not.
Yeah, I have two. I was looking to get a third. That's just kind of what I normally do, but we could put forth those two at any point. Do we have a group of people we're like gonna pitch this to, or just send it out to all of them? Like, how do we want to operate this? How do we want to fund it? I mean, are we gonna be the or
I mean, I think it's a question for the group. One is, does the EDIC, you know, have some skin in the game here and chip in something? Do we ask for tenants solely to pay? And then secondly, do we, you know, have a tiered system that reflects the fact that there are different size companies? Applied Materials has already said, you know, they're happy to contribute. And I suspect that they would be able to, or be willing to pay, you know, a significant portion of what we're talking about. But I don't know whether for the appearance of equitable asks, you know, whether we put in place a tiered system or not. I mean, roughly, what are you thinking it's going to cost us, as we can sort of take this issue up at the next meeting, but maybe just have a brief conversation now?
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, one was like $400 a week, I think, and then the other one was more like 1,200 for every 2 weeks or something. So one of them, the guy who's been doing it was going to just maintain it every 2 weeks, and the other quote was going to be every week. So I think we should just pick one strategy, so they're all bidding on the same platform or whatever, the same to-do list, and give whoever 3 prices and see what they want to do, because the lowest price is always the best bet. But I would think with landscaping, when you're just mowing down weeds and shrubs and stuff, I think that's probably the lowest guy might be the best bet. Yeah. But we can leave that up to them.
What are folks' thoughts about, do we just sort of set a fee? Do we have a tiered system that reflects the size of Applied versus smaller companies.
I mean, just going from like what we do on on Connellan Road, not everyone pays. So I think if you just come up with like one rate, because if it's tiered and if it's too complicated, it's never a big number. You know, they were looking for like $300 a head, which is just, you know, that's like a month worth of dumpsters or what. It's just not a big number. So I think we should start off with that. If people kick and scream about it, we could ask them for a tiered approach. But I bet if there's what, 12, there's what, maybe 12 owners up there.
Yeah, how many have agreed?
Probably more than that, but
15 owners, you're probably not going to go to tenants. So if you get, you know, 75%, now you have 8 owners paying, you know, either part of what, 2,400 a week. So it's still like $200 a month, maybe. So it's like $1,200 for the year or something. So I wouldn't think it's too much. Let me get the final numbers together and then we'll put together an option next meeting, and then that'll be a good time to pitch them, because it'll be April, and by May and June they're going to want to start seeing something going on up there, and it would all happen pretty quickly. I think at least the landscapers would be pretty quick to jump on it.
Right. Patty or Gretel, do you guys have any relevant experience in sort of shared common costs as an approach to this?
I don't know.
Okay. The other was recycling, and I do have a call in to Jay McNiff to find out. I mean, I think that Hiltz is really the only show in town, but I have a call into him and haven't heard back, so I'm thinking he's away. But that's about it. Taylor, do you know if there's anybody other than Hiltz that really does?
JRM got bought by Republic, so I think they're kind of Republic's all over the place, so they might be even a better bet.
Yeah.
So the Republic or JRM, but Republic bought them.
Yeah.
They might be better than Hiltz.
Okay. I'll
Do you
follow
want me
up.
to reach out to them too on this project, or
Pardon me?
do you want me to reach out to those two recycling places too? See how that would work?
Yeah, why don't we wait to hear back from Jay?
Okay.
Just 'cause I don't know whether he offers anything to his tenants. I suspect not, because the question came from one of his tenants, and that folks are just on their own if they want to do recycling. But let me hear back from him, and then I'll give you the green light. That would be great.
Okay.
And the other question was, or I think this was a follow-up question from Comatier, is whether they could, whether the awesome cafeteria there at Applied could be used by other tenants, and predictably the answer was no, for security reasons. But it turns out they did just sign a multi-year contract with, the company is called, I think, Compass Solutions, which is, you know, a huge food service company. And I think Brian Maloney was going to touch base with them, whether there's any opportunities to utilize the kitchen or anything to do even takeout meals, or have something that could work that Compass could provide for other tenants. And then I started to imagine, you know, we've got a couple of properties up there, you know, could we put a little trailer facility with a couple of parks, and you know, could we generate a tiny little bit of a revenue stream if we were to simply be the building where folks could get or pick up their food. So anyways, we'll follow up with Compass and see whether that's anything that they would that they do at other industrial parks, and whether there's a viable solution there.
We could do lottery tickets too.
If we're going there, we might as
We
well.
get a winner, you never know, we could get a
We
big.
might as
boost
well
in
do
revenue, right?
cigarettes then.
Sell the winner.
So Lucy's. I wonder if like reaching out to any food trucks, if there's anyone like that that would be interested in kind of rotating up through there.
Yeah,
Don't you have to check with the Board of Health? Because I think they have a limited number of locations available for food trucks in Gloucester.
it's a good, I think you're right, Patty. That's an excellent suggestion.
But
I'll follow up.
It would go through city council to determine if they could have a spot up there.
City, the
Or
clerk.
we may have we could have a special vote.
Yeah, I would think we got a dispensation.
Okay. All right, so I'll check with the city clerk about that.
Right.
Then you have to food trucks that are interested in going up there, so.
Yep.
That's a whole new, it's all a different thing.
Seemed like, you know, some folks were looking for some kind of sense of community up there and, you know, maybe even just doing a food truck Friday or something where they rotate. But it did seem like there were several people that seemed to be wishing there was a way they could be more connected to each other. So maybe without trying to get a food truck every day, there might be some kind of event that we could help them put together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a $20 million bridge across the highway to Market Basket Plaza.
Just give them a choice.
Options over there.
So the other thing that's not specifically identified here, but is Applied is meeting with the mayor tomorrow. And I've been invited to participate in that meeting as well. And this is regarding Applied's expansion plans for Gloucester. So they sort of alluded to it at the meeting without going into any details. And so I think at this meeting, there'll be some more details about what that expansion might look like, and, you know, what space is or is not available for them to expand in terms of going from the 1.2 billion to the 2 billion that they referenced at the meeting in terms of revenue out of Gloucester, as well as getting to maybe as many as 2,000 employees in Gloucester from the current. So,
Tom, do you know if they're going to be looking for any incentives from the city as well?
I mean, I'm sure they're open to it, and I'm sure the city, I don't know what the city can offer other than TIFs. But I think, so anyways, I mean, I'm sure they're interested, but I suspect that it's not, you know, like a deal breaker for them to get something in order to expand in the industrial park.
Would this be an opportunity for you, Tom, to bring up the fact that we really believe we need a professional business planner for Gloucester?
It's a good idea. I mean, I haven't really thought of that, but that this is, depending on the scale of that expansion, significant enough that really having a dedicated person either could be justified or, you know, valued to make this work. So I'll see. I'll sort of play the room depending on how it goes, but it's an excellent suggestion. I hadn't thought of that at all. Yeah. The other next bullet is energy initiatives. So at the moment, you know, and again, given what we talked about briefly before about the state, there's nothing really going on, but hopefully you had a chance to look at the proposal that we should have heard back from MAPC, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, but have not. They've indicated, Greg Federspiel from Manchester and I had a conversation with them. They seemed interested, you know, so Manchester already has this money. They already have this $30,000 that was designed to look at sort of basically renewable energy potential in the greater Cape Ann area. So, and using the tools from the National Renewable Energy Lab called NREL, which I haven't looked in on. It's hard to track who still exists or doesn't, and who's been slashed and who hasn't. But they're essentially online tools, so I don't think it would impact this project. So the idea would be is that MAPC and their energy folks would do this analysis, looking at what's the renewable energy potential for Manchester, Gloucester, and the greater sort of Cape Ann area. Greg and I, but the EDIC and or city or town of Manchester, and maybe somebody like Town Green would be responsible for sort of building a coalition of sorts that would then also play a role in bringing the State Department of Public Utilities and ISO New England into the conversation, right? We've talked about the fact that we have a good working relationship with National Grid, who regards us as a customer, but there are critical issues to be faced by DPU and ISO New England, and we really don't have a network for providing direct feedback. So the second part of the work done by MAPC would be to set up, you know, a webinar or set up a meeting or do something in order for us to connect more directly with these critical energy agencies. And the role, certainly MAPC coordinates putting groups together all the time. They would play some role, but the proposal has the EDIC expanding on what we've done already in terms of bringing other parties, stakeholders, private companies, local governments, our state legislators into a consortium or coalition of sorts. So it didn't seem like the money's on, the money's there. It seemed like we might as well, it gives us an opportunity to continue on an energy initiative without spending any or much money. And again, I think the opportunity that's relevant to us and many other stakeholders is how to connect to DPU and ISO New England. So we're just waiting to hear from MAPC on a sort of a more specific scope of work based on this 2-pager that I had put together. Any thoughts, pushback? Does it seem like a good idea? Do you have concerns?
This doesn't sound like any downside.
Yeah, that's my feeling. And if we're getting if the money's already in the bank and getting somebody else to do this work, I think.
But using it as a way to build a consortium and just build the alliances that we need to carry this thing forward, it just seems like, yeah, it's a good application of that money.
I think we're getting a little concerned that, I mean, I'm sure you can get an extension, but based on the money that was in last year's budget, I mean, I think it's supposed to be spent by June, the end of June, and I'm sure there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but we'd really like to firm this up and get MAPC moving on it so that there is sufficient time to, at a minimum, do this analysis of the renewable energy potential. It may take a little more time, obviously, to build a consortium and put together a meeting. So we'll see how that goes.
So it's use it or lose it on the money then, right?
I think so. I think there's opportunity to extend it, but not sort of indefinitely, and not, there needs to be a specific plan. So,
how much work do they need to do to get like just the initial contract put together so we could start to spend the money? I mean, it shouldn't, versus doing the work. So the work needs to be done by July 1.
Correct.
And then what? The money needs to be spent by June 1?
No, I think it needs to be spent by the end of June.
Okay, so it's all July 1. Okay.
So, I mean, I think both MAPC and Town of Manchester have a lot of experience in contracting sort of with each other. So I think once there's a scope in place and we agree that this looks good, I think it's like a couple of weeks to make it happen, not a month.
Okay, yes. Still seems viable then.
The comprehensive plan, there's actually a meeting, a public meeting next week, March 20th, 5 p.m. that seeks community input on the plan. And if you go to the city, I don't have it handy, but if you Google City of Gloucester draft comprehensive plan on the website, it gives the latest information. And one of the things, so, you know, our recommendations were then filtered by the planning department, not the planning board, right, who's responsible for shuffling the deck here on the various themes and putting up the next iteration of the draft plan. One of the things that is on here, if I can find it, and of course, 6, 7. Anyways, I can't put my finger on it, but there's in the plan, there is sort of a general language regarding sort of the EDIC, evaluating the EDIC's role in economic development, planning for the city, and identifying ongoing revenue streams and or financial support for the EDIC, playing a more expanded role. I'm sorry that I can't locate the specific.
Yeah, Tom, what would be interesting or useful? You know, it sounds like they're going to try and do everything in that meeting on March 20th. You know, that I've heard it's sort of like, you know, let's discuss every aspect of the comprehensive plan, as opposed to breaking it into, you know, a couple of pieces. One for you know, the issues, they're the more residential housing, consumer oriented type stuff, and then the industrial commercial issues, because that's the way they handled it at the meeting that Taylor and I attended. They broke it into the two groups because they realized it's too much to handle all at once. So I don't know if that's a suggestion we could make to Alex, is let's break this into two so that each piece gets the attention that it deserves from a feedback standpoint.
I will see him tomorrow and I will make that suggestion.
Otherwise, you know, where all the focus is going to be on housing. It's not, and our issues are just going to be footnotes.
Yeah, or like the same thing that happened, I think, at the meeting that you and Taylor attended, where there's just so much in this plan.
Yeah,
it's more deserving of a 2-minute per item.
Yeah.
So I did finally find the language. So it says, explore opportunities to hire a full or part-time EDIC director to help sustain the EDIC and support a steady revenue stream. So that's a little bit different than, you know, the other things were economic development stuff that we had provided, ranging from the energy to expansion of Conlin Road to support of Jodrell State Fish Pier. So anyways, I'm not sure whether that will make it into the final plan or not, but no, Rob, I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I'll raise that with Alex tomorrow. Any other thoughts on the comprehensive plan? I think in general, Rob has been most active in sort of following it. I don't know, Patty, have you been following it, or just really more on the 3A and the housing stuff?
The residential, very much in tune with the 3A.
When is the vote? Is that April?
April 20th or 24th, I forget which.
Yeah, I think it's the 24th. So finally, Jodrell State Fish Pier. I think since we had the meeting, so Rob and I went down and had a good meeting in New Bedford with a guy that heads up and has for, I think, 10 or 15 years, Derek Santos, who heads up the New Bedford Economic Council. Is that right, Rob? It's
Yeah.
It's not an EDIC, but it has
No.
broad.
And it's a department of what, 6, I thought, right?
Right. But it is sort of, the chair is the mayor of New Bedford, but it's not really a city department. It is sort of a quasi government group. So we met with him, who was great. Gordon Carr, who is the New Bedford Port Authority. John Bullard, who's a former mayor who was up here in Gloucester for about 4 years as the head of NOAA, the NOAA office. And then Jennifer Downing, who heads the ocean cluster in New Bedford. And it was Rob's first trip in a long time to New Bedford. And it's an eye opener to really see a thriving, I don't know about thriving, but I mean a very busy seaport with a ton of boats, most of them scallop boats, and seafood processing and cold storage, as well as all of the work that's being ongoing for offshore wind. But it was I thought, a very good meeting. And they have connected us with somebody from Mass Development. If you recall, one of our primary goals was to understand sort of how they have developed over time a successful partnership with Mass Development that has Mass Development putting out an RFP for the development of their state fish pier, and is just more sort of actively involved. And so they have connected us with the person in Mass Development that they've worked most closely with. And we're now scheduled to, we don't have a date yet, but to have a follow-up meeting to talk about that further. So it was well worth, the 1.5-hour drive, and certainly just delightful spending 3 hours in a car with Rob.
Goes both ways. My observation, I had a couple observations from the meeting. One is that they're well staffed. Back to our conversation about our city needs to staff up if we're going to be serious about commercial planning and development. The second thing was how involved, Tom, I don't know if it was this mayor or their prior mayor that got Mass Development's attention for their fish pier.
No, it's this mayor. He's a lawyer, and he's regarded as a bulldog, very good bulldog lawyer who
and my takeaway from that was, like our fish pier, it didn't have Mass Development's attention originally, but like you say, he's a bulldog, and he went to Mass Development and said, You're the landlord here on this property, and you're not doing your job. And as a result of that, not only are you squandering this asset for the city of New Bedford and the state, but you're having a negative impact on the rest of New Bedford by not paying attention to this. So get on this. Let's get together and figure this out. And the net result with the resources that they've been able to get and apply to this is when Tom just mentioned the RFP for potential tenants on the fish pier. We should send it around to the group. It's really professionally done. And you have these exceptional potential tenants that put together great presentations that are really clamoring to be tenants on their fish pier. I mean, it's got a very bright future. And it all came down to, this bulldog mayor basically calling mass development out on the carpet and saying, you're a crappy landlord. You got to get going on this. This is economically important to us and the state. So it was just interesting, sort of the contrast between how they're addressing it, how aggressive they've been, and the path they're heading down versus kind of where we are and where we need to get to.
Pretty
And
inspirational. So yeah, good to hear that can be done and that they respond to pressure, right?
Yeah, and I think and it's not just a comment. I mean, I think this goes back years in Gloucester, where the state fish pier is the state's responsibility. I mean, we also heard in New Bedford, even though it's moving successfully, the same sort of challenge with having a major 8-acre critical element of your port that is not owned or managed by the city, right? That that it is, a state's job to oversee this, and that comes with some challenges. So,
What did you guys learn anything? Oh, sorry, Tom. Did I interrupt you?
no, go.
Did you guys learn anything about Ocean Cluster and any kind of successes that they've actually brought with their entry into New Bedford?
We didn't really, and Jennifer was pretty quiet because I think a lot of the focus wasn't necessarily her sort of sweet spot. But I think that that Ocean Cluster has been very sort of involved in the clean energy technology side, offshore wind and that stuff. So that's been an area of particular focus. But I mean, they do have, and this is a great frustration of mine and others in Gloucester, is that they have a good relationship with Iceland. And the ocean cluster that started there, and the history of the relationship with Iceland actually started in Gloucester, where they who's the software
Well, it wasn't. No, we kind of brought him into the picture. It wasn't Jon von Tetzchner. It was. I mean, there was a guy named Sig, who is the head of the ocean cluster in Iceland. We met with him a number of times. We sent Tom over there basically to help reconnaissance but I think what happened was we lost out to Portsmouth. Portland. Portland had, if you go there, right on the dock. It's almost a tourist area, right? But they decided there was just more infrastructure there, more ability to support them, like right on the waterfront. And so we kind of called Jon von Tetzchner in to just kind of lend a hand. Why'd you come to Gloucester and try to leverage that, right, to kind of more support, but they had pretty tangible requirements that we weren't able to meet.
Right, but they had set up shop first in Gloucester with the Icelandic House as in Magnolia, as a place where Icelandic companies could come and stay and work to try to find opportunities in the Northeast. I
That
mean,
may have been,
at Maritime Gloucester, we hosted, you know, 15 companies from Iceland that had all come to Gloucester to sort of convene there. And then the next day they announced this deal with Portland.
yeah,
You know?
I mean, my sense though is that was probably just, he actually bought the inn, right? So that his team members who are out of Iceland and out of Norway could come and relax with their families and do work, et cetera, right? These short trips. So I think he had capacity to host these people, and he's just a very great guy, very gracious guy. And I think he was trying to do that, but I don't know that they were ever officially based there. But anyway, it's kind of
Right.
water under the bridge. I would bet that if we if Yoon is very community minded. He's rather busy with. By the way, he builds an internet browser. One of the big internet browsers in the world is built right here in Gloucester and Magnolia, right? It's called Vivaldi. I got it on my machine. We should all be using it too. It's big on privacy and such. But I think he'd probably be keen to help us if there was some specific things that we could recruit him to do. He just seems like that kind of a guy. And
Right. But I know, as you alluded to, I mean, Tom and the EDIC spent a fair bit of time sort of trying to forge a relationship. It's just unfortunate that there's now an ocean cluster in Portland, there's an ocean cluster in New Bedford, and the Gloucester fishing community never really embraced somebody else coming and forging partnerships.
innovation, yeah.
It is what it is. But anyways, we didn't really get a good sense from Jennifer as to exactly what they were.
Sorry to divert the conversation.
No, that's good. I'm glad actually gave the context to the history. So that's sort of the update on all of this. So sort of, I think a lot of things are happening, but nothing momentous. But we continue to try to have impact on everything from the planning process to Jodrell State Fish Pier to the energy within our capacity as a volunteer organization. Anything else to?
I have a question. Who's paying those 6 employees in the department down in New Bedford? Where's the money coming from?
I don't recall. I don't know if Rob's still on.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't recall. I don't recall either. I mean, I had the impression it was coming from the city. No.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they own real estate. They get grants. I'll forward to you. I mean, it's well beyond what we'll ever do, but they issue an annual report that's impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah.
There's a plan. There are projects. He's very data driven. Here's the data about number of businesses we helped, to jobs created, to money obtained, etc. And it's
they really have it together. The funny thing was they mentioned it to Tom and I a couple of times. While they're willing to help us, they're only willing to go so far because they consider Gloucester a competitor, which I kind of chuckled at under my breath. But they actually see us as a competing geography, competing resources.
Oh, sure.
The notion of competition within fishing runs back 400 years.
Yeah, and to that end, they suggested that we figure out who we are as a fishing port and a fishing industry. They said, look, we made our decision, which is our primary focus is going to be scalloping, and even though it's had a bad couple of years, we think that holds a future for us. And they said we need to figure out what ours is, and they suggested Tom, that it was tuna and stripers, right? Both commercial and recreational.
Yeah, I think that was John Bullard.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, yeah.
No, I'm not sure there's agreement on that with
No, I doubt. I
us with
doubt it.
Gloucester Fishing
Yeah,
Fleet.
but I thought that was interesting, gratuitous advice on their part. Forget everything else, stick to tuna and stripers.
Taylor, do you want to talk about financial stuff and the status of our auditor contract?
Sure. Let's see. So the auditor contract, I reached out to Justine, our accountant, and she gave me one other auditor who came back with, we don't do this type of audit. So that's the only other competing bid I got was a no. So I don't know if anyone else has any, I don't know that we're that big. I know it's a $6,000 bill, but I think it's a pretty small audit in general. So we might not find a lot of people that are interested in it. I can keep looking around. I don't know. I don't have a drop dead date on when we have to agree on it. It's a 3-year contract they're looking for. That's $6,000 a year. I think they've been doing it forever, as long as I've been doing it as long as I've been around. But do you know, Mike, if Roselli Clark has always been doing our audits?
I think we may have, years back during my tenure, which is now like 12 years, I think we may have switched at some point, like in the first few years that I've been around, but.
Okay. Lee thinks Roselli bought someone out, so we've
Boosty.
probably been using the same auditor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know, and I think it was when I was at Maritime Gloucester, not EDIC, but so we had used Horvitz and Frisch, local, CPA, and did a lot of nonprofit stuff. And just for the benefit of reaching out and trying to get 3 bids, is discovered there's just not a lot of firms that do audits of nonprofits, and especially small nonprofits. And so I don't know that it's worth spending a ton of effort trying to find somebody else. And we just have to suck it up for $6,000, I think.
Is that a significant increase over the last few years? It seems like it may have been pretty steady state.
I think it's about the same. It might have been $5,000 the last 3 years.
I can check.
Okay.
It's always been in the 5s.
Yeah, I think Lee and I kind of think it was about a 5, maybe 6,500, so it might have gone up a touch.
They suggested they needed to go up because of the egg prices.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was thinking.
So I don't know. I think why don't I check in with them and see when they need to know by? But do we want to take a vote in case they need to know? I'm guessing they have to do it somewhat soon.
So I make a motion to accept the proposal by, what's the name of the firm?
Roselli Clark and Associates.
To accept the proposal by Roselli Clark and Associates to perform our audits at $6,000 per year
For a 3-year term.
for a 3-year term.
Second that.
Any comments, discussion? So roll call vote. Mike DeLassio.
Aye.
Taylor Hedges.
Aye.
Eddie Nags.
Aye.
Gretel Seeley.
Aye.
Rob Gordon.
Aye.
Tom Belf. Aye.
All right.
Great.
That sounds like we put all of our eggs in one basket, Tom.
It's a pretty basket though. It's all right.
Just in time for Easter.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's true.
Anything else?
Well, the next thing is, there's a couple more things, but, status of our accounts, we had 1 CD rollover at Institution for Savings, and I put it into another 12-month That amount was $272.29. We had previously put into a 23-month, which I didn't realize we weren't allowed to. Until Tony Rosselli told me that we shouldn't be doing anything more than 12 months as per, I don't know, a charter or state law or something. So we're back in compliance on that. I don't think it was anything too significant. Other than that, we have that money market fund at Cape Ann Savings Bank is about 85,000, and then the other two CDs there total about 238,000. So with all that, our kind of our bottom line assets, which include the standard land, which is negotiable whether it's really worth that much, is we're at about $583,000. So I can send this around if anyone cares to see it or not.
Nope, that's fine. We really need that food cart operation.
Exactly. And then the last thing we have in the packet is the bill from Marsh Moriarty, Ontel, and Golder. That was for the title, the deed search and title search stuff. For Connellan Road, that bill was $5,456. I think it's in here for us to vote on, but I think we voted on it because I paid it. So
Yeah, I think we had pre-approved,
yeah,
paying up to $6,000 or something, if I recall correctly.
so I think we're
Adrian, if you're still on, I think you are. Any thoughts, comments, sort of where we ended up here?
So I think you're right on the vote. So I think you guys pre-approved up to, it was either 5,500 or 5,500 or 6,000. I can look back in my emails if we need to. But I think the invoice was lower than that. And yes, I did get an email from Taylor saying he was sending it out. It honestly, I somewhat expect, I mean, I did kind of expect the results that we received, but it was what I was worried about, which is, could be an endless pit of money and time and possibly not, get us to where we want to be. Which was my concern from the beginning, and, which is what makes it so hard to be able to determine, well, how much more money would we need to spend to get an answer? And the answer to that is, well, we don't know. So, that the work that they did can certainly be picked up again at another point in time. If the board was so inclined, whether that's with the same title examiner or whether that's with a different title examiner. I will say, some title examiners don't like to take work from other examiners because, they trust themselves and not other examiners. So it could be an issue with trying to, somewhat transfer that title to someone else and have them start, but possibly not. But I think there's no way for us to really figure out, how much is it going to be, another 10 grand before we have an answer, or is this just going to go on and on and on, and then ultimately get us to a place where we're having to spend even more money to track down heirs and deal with probates and kind of do all of that. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with Suzanne Egan about this whole thing and, how, like, when would the city step in and take title to those lots?
Am I right that, if at some point, assuming that you haven't really gotten to the end line, but you're just exhausted or don't want to pay more, that you can acquire title insurance, or no, you're just on the hook forever?
So the only way that you're going to be able to purchase title insurance is if you have a clear title. And we do not by any means have a clear title because we do not even, well, I shouldn't say we don't have a clear title. We don't know if we have a clear title. But more importantly than having a clear title, we don't even know who the owner is. So the title insurance policy has to be issued in the name of the owner. And we aren't there yet. And no one would, or I should say, I would not, as an underwriter for title insurance, ever issue an owner's title insurance policy on the title that we have right now. It's not complete. We don't know who the owner is. We don't know all of the encumbrance, easements, liens, anything like that. So you would need a complete, full, clear title showing who the owner is, showing all easements, rights of way, encumbrances. And potentially if the title led to, a discrepancy in the description of the land lots, could possibly lead to having, needing to get a survey done too. But yeah, no, we are not in a position that anyone would write title insurance for those parcels, unfortunately.
But the only way to, the only way, like this, the only way to accelerate this would basically be, with a known destination would be for the city to step in and basically claim them under eminent.
Yeah, take title to those vacant lots, and then we could work with the city to either, buy it from them or they give it to us, or however that would work. That's why I'd love to kind of chat with Suzanne Egan to say, what would it take for the city to act on that? Because, as we ran into in the very beginning of this whole conversation, the city didn't want to take this on because they knew the expense and time was going to be too much for them. So unfortunately, unless we continue on with that title work, not knowing again how much that's going to cost or how long that's going to take, we're kind of stuck in the mud unless the city were to step in and take title to the lots.
Do
Hey,
you,
I think oh, go ahead, sorry.
do you want to go ahead and set up time with Suzanne, or I know Suzanne well. Do you want me to set it up, try to set something up a couple weeks out? Either is fine.
Yeah, it's totally up to you. If you want to initiate that, that works for me. If you want me to reach out, I'm happy to. But yeah, I would like that very much, Tom. Because I'm not sure what the city's procedure is, and if that is a possible optional route, let's look into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be awesome.
Is there a day of the week that generally is often better for you, or not?
So the only day of the week that generally is bad for me is Tuesday. Other than that, I can be pretty flexible on the other days.
All right, and I'll schedule something like 2 or 3 weeks out, so that it's
perfect.
Hopefully today's not one of those bad days for you, by the way.
No, so I shouldn't say it's a bad day. It's just a busy day almost so I have Rotary every Tuesday, and I'm Sergeant at Arms, which takes a good 2.5 hours out of my Tuesday. And then once a month we have this meeting. So Tuesdays I just say, I'm out.
All right, I just had to comment.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
And it doesn't matter that it's like 58 degrees out on March 11th, and it feels like spring. It's still a bad day.
No. So I'm not saying it's a bad day. I'm just saying Tuesdays are not a good day for me to schedule other appointments because I already have pre-scheduled appointments every Tuesday. Does that sound better? I'm actually, I'm very happy to be here at this meeting. I haven't been at the last few meetings. I had checked in with Tom to see if you guys needed me. You didn't, but I figured I didn't even ask today. I'm like, you know what? I'm so out of the loop. I just want to hear what they're talking about. So this is a wonderful end to my Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Well, glad that you could join us today and catch up. And thanks for that. So final item, more or less, the CADA bus, the sort of last mile program. So I think everybody was involved, maybe not Adria, but involved when we set that up a few years ago with Felicia Webb at CADA. And so we got an email from Applied Materials that some of their young workers who were taking the train from Salem or Beverly or maybe from Boston, that the bus, the on-demand CADA buses were not sort of coordinated with the arrival or the departure of the trains. And I'm not sure, and Felicia wasn't sure exactly whether, you know, the MBTA changed the train times or exactly how it came to be. But we had Mike and I had a productive conversation with Felicia, who's always sort of solutions oriented, and she's going back to look at what, you know, what they could do, whether it's modify the schedule of the bus or whether there's a van pickup that might work. And then we have a question back to Applied Materials as to, you know, how many folks are we talking about? Is this 4 employees, or is it 8 employees? Or, I mean, we don't need exact numbers, but it impacts the solution. So we're working through this, which I think is a good thing, because we really do want to make sure that that last mile program works for getting folks
Sounds
up.
like CADA does too.
Yeah.
They seem like they do want to solve that.
Yeah. So hopefully by the next meeting we'll have solved that and made whatever modifications are necessary to get young workers up to Blackburn Industrial Park in a timely manner. So,
Is that free for everyone who rides it?
That's like $1. It's super cheap, right? $2.
Okay, I was curious how that's.
It's a
Okay, thanks.
couple bucks to book
Yeah, I think
on demand, but then, oh, good, Tom.
Well, in the beginning, I think didn't sponsors, if there were sponsors, couldn't their employees ride for free?
Yeah.
I think that's what we started off with, because I think Applied, we had what, $10,000 or $15,000 worth of sponsorship in the beginning?
yeah, Applied, Addison Gilbert. I think there was somebody else as well.
Hortons,
Gordon's. Yeah, we had a fair amount of sponsorship in the beginning.
and the city and we sponsored it as well. So yeah, we had a good, I think it was over 20,000 that we raised.
Okay.
And then and then when, you know, Felicia left and then has come back, and so I think during that interim, I actually, do you remember what I mean? The on-demand service is great. I think she said they did 40,000 rides last year. It's either 4 or 40,000. But it's sort of it seems like it's lost a little bit of the focus of the last mile in getting workers from trains to their employment.
I mean, the work, if you're lucky, you know, it's first come, first serve. So if you get in and you can book a ride on the on-demand, it will come and pick you up and get you to Blackburn. But the problem is it's not predictable enough for folks to depend on it for their primary transportation. That's because other people are, you know, demanding it as well. So
Yeah, it's kind of counter to having a schedule. It just kind of goes wherever the next person needs to go versus, hey, at X time, we're picking up at Applied Materials or all of Blackburn, so we can make sure we're back at the train station in time to catch that train.
right. And if you might book it and get accepted, but the person next to you, you know, you took the last seat and they're walking to Blackburn or whatever, right?
Right.
Although she was describing, I mean, the software has some power to it, right? I think it was describing that it can sort of coordinate to say, okay, I've got these 5 requests, you know, here's the route I should take that is maximally efficient. You know,
and the driver's break is coming up, and they have another bus that these riders are gonna like, the reservations are gonna transfer to another bus that's en route and will pick up the slack because someone's going on their union, required break in 15 minutes. It's amazing software.
so that's it. Any other thoughts, suggestions, great stuff you've heard from other towns or cities, things that you think we should be more focused on, less focused on?
Hey, what, I mean, if you're talking to the mayor or we're talking about, comprehensive plan and funding the EDIC, one thing we did talk about was some type of hybrid position. So whether that would be getting the city to, I mean, we don't want to, if we hired a new executive director, it's going to be, I mean, Tom was what, $75,000 a year. So say it's $85,000 a year now, or 100 to get someone really well qualified. Can we, do a 3-year contract with someone and get the city to fund half of that? Or could we agree to donate some funds from ours to an economic development director? It might be a little bit more palatable and put it on a short time frame. So we don't go, we don't squander $500,000 over the next 10 years with nothing to show for it, but maybe do a 3-year trial to get some legs to show them how serious we are. So if you are talking to Alex or the mayor, maybe pitch them on that. It might be a little bit more palatable.
Right.
I just know, talking to Jill Cahill, that having the same person be the economic development director and then on our board, it makes us, it doesn't work with our charter and a city employee. So it would just have to be a shared funding thing and not a direct tie-in. So,
And I don't know whether this is relevant or not, is so on the one hand, the first step is it should be in the comprehensive plan that the plan is to support the EDIC in its role for economic development. Although, so that would be one, if you could take that approach. On the other hand, really, it's just all about the budget and not worry about whether it's in the plan or not. Just get a commitment from the mayor, Jill, whoever, to get it in the budget. Come up with a hybrid approach that is justifiable and affordable, and just get it in there. So
right.
I saw in the paper that that Jill is possibly being considered for another position. Is that that's still out there?
Yep, I think I don't know when Manchester decides, but and then I was talking to someone today that said Danvers decides on the 18th, and someone told me today that one of the candidates of the last 3, one of them withdrew, so be down to 2.
Yep.
It happens.
All right. So next meeting is April 8th.
Yep.
Hopefully there's a number of things. I don't think it'll be a long meeting, but hopefully there's a number of things that will be further updated and taken to the next step at that meeting. Gretel, you look like you're here in Gloucester, not on the road in a hotel room somewhere. Is that correct?
I am here in Gloucester. I was supposed to head up north to go skiing, but we put that off by a day. So it was going to be fun travel, but travel nonetheless.
Yeah, well, good. Well, thanks for sticking around to have a great Tuesday.
Wonderful
All
Tuesday
right.
for me.
So I guess a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Two.
Thank you.
But